Chris Petri here. Thanks so much for coming by. We're doing some fun compositions with oils. I just wanted to show you right at the very start of the video just the way the paintings will look when you're finished, the compositions. Beautiful summer sky, fresh summer sky, some hills, interesting colors along the foreground here just to give us some reference for the ground level of the horizon line here. And also too, a nice beautiful kind of a stormy day, stormy sky, and we have some boats and a seaport. Very bottom of the painting, just a little indication of it so that we kind of have these things in mind when we're doing our skies. But basically the whole idea is painting some sky washes, some sky glazings I should say, in water mixable oils, having a fun time of it, mixing the colors. We'll show you all the colors you're going to mix here, the methods to get it done. And we did this in about a half an hour, 45 minutes. So you'll have a great time doing this, a lot of fun, no pressure, and we'll just get started with the video in just a second. All right, hi everybody, Chris Petri here. We're doing some oils. We're enjoying ourselves here. We're going to mix some paint. We're going to make some sky washes. We're going to do some composition, simple, minimal amounts of paint. Just get on some sky washes here. We'll do two. Sky washes, the first one we're going to do maybe a nice blue summer sky, and then maybe the second one we'll do kind of maybe a stormy sky with some clouds. But the main thing I wanted to do is just kind of impress that it's really a good habit or a good choice to once in a while do a couple things isolated, like maybe skies, trees, water, things like this. If you break it down into smaller parts, a lot of times you'll have a lot of fun with it. You'll get to kind of explore isolating something like skies. So we'll do skies this time. Maybe next time we'll do ocean water. Maybe another time we'll do like lakes or streams or rivers, something like that. We'll break things down though in little smaller parts. It's a lot of fun to do it that way, especially working in oils, and I use water mixable oils, which are really fun. I always mention that on my site here, that I use water mixable oils. So I use usually Winsor & Newton, and Artisan is the brand or the line of watercolor paint. They make, of course, great watercolor paints, which I use pretty much exclusively, Winsor & Newton, and great paints. And these water mixable oils are great too. They're almost like watercolors. You know, you can just use water to dilute them down a little bit if you want to make a thinner glazing when you're painting, or if you just want to use it straight, like right out of the tube, you can do that too. And then when you clean up, you just use oil and soap and water, warm soapy water, to clean your brushes and to also clean up your hands, your tables, whatever you're working on, your workstation, things like that. Really, this is a great oil paint to use, especially if you're just in your first maybe 3 or 4 years or 5 years. Maybe after that, when you're getting really into it, and maybe you're finding that you're really super interested in the real fine minutia of oil painting, maybe you'll try the regular oils, but there's a lot to that. So that's another whole learning curve. But if you just start out with the water mixable oils, pretty much you have no problems with fumes, because I know when you work with regular oils, with oil painting, you have to deal with fumes, flammable solvents, things like this could be dangerous. So when you stick with your water mixable Artisan brand, and they make others too. There's a Georgian. This is another brand I have, water mixable oils, Georgian brand. And I think there's a few others I might have too. But for right now, those are the two that I kind of really have, readily available in my studio. But that's the oils. And again, I use for my brushes, I use Princeton brushes. And you can't miss them. They have the blue stripes on them. These are synthetic oil brushes. They clean up great with soap and water after we're done. And then we're ready for our next painting the next time. All right, so we're all set. We have our brushes, and then I use just a small rubberized water container with fresh, clean water. And I have all my supplies in the comment section below. So if you ever want to look up any of my art supplies or you want to pick something up, pretty much all the links are for Amazon. Amazon is really where I shop 90% of the time. It's nice and simple, gets delivered to my house. I don't have to spend money on gas and wasting time driving around doing that sort of thing. All right, so let's get started over here. First one we'll do up here, again, we'll do like a nice summer sky. So what I'll do is I just sectioned off my palette, my hardboard. So this is hardboard oil painting board, cotton covering over particle board. And I just took the board and made a center line. So I have a center line across the board like this. I used a T-square ruler like this. And I made my line there across the center. And then I made my center mark here, just so I have the center mark. I know that's the center of my canvas, hardboard canvas. And then I just took my tape, Scotch. I use Scotch brand sometimes. These are really good 3M Scotch brand tape. And I tape around. This way we have a nice, beautiful border. So when we're done painting, we peel the tape off, and it's almost like we have a frame around our composition we're doing. And so I'm really excited when I do compositions, because if I tape it like this, and I do this with my watercolors as well, you have a natural border around it, and it just looks crisp, clean, and whatever you're working, any kind of compositions, or even, of course, your paintings, you'll find that it's really excellent. So now, you'll often see me do this with my oil paintings. I usually take a little bit of yellow ochre, like that. And then I take a large brush. I dampen it up with some water. So I just take my water. I dampen it up. Then I just take the excess water off on some paper towel on the side over here. So I keep my water bucket and my paper towel over to the right here, over on the right hand side here. This way I have more real estate so we can see more of what we're doing on the canvas. Hope you don't mind that. So simple enough. We take our yellow ochre and we'll put an underglazing on this right here. And what's really nice is if you just dampen your brush a little bit, you can just get some on there like that. You can do the whole thing with a brush if you want. Brush it in, I like to do a really, really thin glazing like that. What I'll do is, they sell these things, I think, online, bag of rags they're called. So they're just like rags you buy in a bag, small bags. And you could take your underglazing and just get the yellow ochre on here. Just like this. And it doesn't have to be perfect or anything like that. You just want a nice bit of warm glow underneath your wash. And the sunlight that shines down upon the earth from the sun is a golden color. So you never can go wrong going with a golden underglazing. Okay, so we'll do that first. Then we're going to take maybe some interesting blues. We're going to do, again, our sky, summer sky. We'll take some French ultramarine blue. And what else we're going to use? Maybe some cerulean blue. These are, again, the Artisan Winsor & Newton. So I think we'll use the two blues here. I hope my voice quality is good with my microphone. I've been experimenting with microphones on my videos for a long time. It's like a challenge with working with all kinds of electronic devices and cameras, and I'm an artist really, so I just try to tough it out and do whatever I can to try to work on my cameras and microphones and things too in my studio, so I have a better sound for everybody. I like to bring you some good quality content all the time. I don't, so if I can make my sound a little better and my voice a little bit better, I try to do it. So I bought a different microphone. I hope it sounds pretty good. So anyway, we're going, one more color here. Let's go with some, this is phthalo green. Just a tiny bit of phthalo green I think we'll add into the sky maybe. Colors. So let's do this. Cerulean blue, French ultramarine blue, and just a touch of phthalo green. Then we use white often to lighten up colors. So I bought a really large tube of the white. I find that, white's like, this is something you'll use a lot of. So you could buy a really large tube of white. And that works out good. And that's the same thing, Winsor & Newton, Artisan brand, Artisan line, water mixable colors. And then we'll get some of that white in our blue sky. So we're going to make a nice, like, lighter blue sky, French ultramarine blue, cerulean blue, and as you can see, just a touch of the phthalo green. Let's try it out. And again, we're just experimenting. We're doing a composition here. We look at that and we think that looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit darker at the top of the sky, so you could take some more of the French ultramarine blue at the top of the sky. And I'm just working in the... And I might go with parallel strokes this way. So I'm going to go across the painting this way with my brush strokes like this. And again, I'm working that paint, and I'm mixing it actually with the golden color underneath. Like that. And then as it gets down toward the bottom of the sky, it's a little bit lighter, more white. Skies tend to be darker up above in the atmosphere, and they become lighter and a little bit warmer toward the bottom. So that's where we have our sky kind of. And just so our sky doesn't look completely just floating out in space, we'll put a small bit of land underneath it. A little bit of, maybe a little bit of a mountain range or some rolling hills. We'll try maybe some rolling hills. But you can work your paint right down to the bottom here like so. And again, you can leave the bottom a little bit under finish because we're going to go over with some rolling hills. But that's going to be really, really at the very, very bottom of the composition. But I'm hoping you're enjoying this so far. We're just, again, working that paint like that. Definitely a fun thing to do when we're working on compositions like this. And then what we'll do is we'll take some more color. We're going to try to get some earth colors. So we have the gold. That's good. Maybe we'll have a little bit of burnt umber. So we'll get some more earth tones there. A little bit of burnt umber. And we have the phthalo green, burnt umber. And then maybe we'll add just a little bit of more warmth. Maybe a little bit of some cad red. Let's try some cadmium red to get ourselves a little bit more warmth in the hills that we're going to paint. And again, it's your composition. It's your painting. You can get creative in mixing colors and adding different colors than maybe I'm using, and maybe try it my way first here with what colors I'm using. That's probably always a good bet. Try the way I do it first, and then maybe do 2 or 3 other ones just like this, but then you might add in some different colors to the sky, maybe make it lighter with more white, maybe make the hills underneath maybe some different colors if you want. But it's always fun just to practice up on these compositions again and have a good time with it. And then I might take this brush and set it to the side and maybe go with a smaller brush. I'll go with a smaller brush like this here. This is a number 2. And we'll dampen it up a little bit. When I dampen up the brush, I take off a little bit of the water on a paper towel. And you can use your paper towel too to like take off some paint. So let's do this. Let's we'll get some brown and gold burnt umber, yellow ochre, phthalo green. A little bit of French ultramarine blue too as well. We'll make these hills darker in the bottom. Touch of red maybe up here. We'll put it over here. Mix down here. Like that. Okay. And you can just mix a little bit of that darker dark here, and then we're going to just go with some rolling hills with some trees. So you can do some tree type shapes like that. And then maybe stick with some hills. Maybe add in a little bit of lemon yellow. Again, no reason not to add some interesting colors as you go. Up some white if you need more white, again, to lighten things up. And that's kind of fun. And then I take some paint off the brush, rinse off the brush a little bit with some water so I can keep getting that nice kind of bright green. We'll put that right in the center there. It's maybe like a nice green bit of grass, rolling hills. And then again back into the darker darks. No need to clean the brush for that because we're going into darks. You'll often notice that when you're painting, if you're mixing really light colors like this light green that we just added in here, you tend to need to rinse off your brush, take off some of the paint if you were working with some darker paint that we were just using here. Does that make sense? And then this way, you'll put your darker colors in here. Then you rinse the brush, clean off the paint and water, and then you'll have a damp brush again. And then you can go in and mix these light colors with some white, lemon yellow, and some of the phthalo green to get that fresh green look. Then you put that in with that clean brush. Then when you go back over here to make some more darks, you don't have to really worry about cleaning the brush again because you're going to be going with darker colors. So it's kind of a common sense thing, but not always, And there we go. A couple of tree shapes maybe sticking up a little bit from the hills. And that's about it. So we have our first composition done, and you can leave it a little bit unfinished. It doesn't have to be like everything perfectly smoothed out on your canvas or anything. These are just fun compositions you do, and just to get the feel for mixing colors and things like that. So let's get our second sky wash here, and we'll do the same thing. We're going to use the yellow ochre again. So I'll take my larger brush here, and with this larger brush I will rinse it off again to start out with, so that we have our kind of a clean brush with some yellow ochre on it. Damp brush, but I'll rinse it off good in the water container. Then I'll take the brush and paper towel, take off some of that excess water. Then we just come right in here and pick up some of that yellow ochre. And again, we just scrub it on any old way like this. And we'll use our small rag to just mix some of that around, because we want it to be really, really thin. So we want this to be a super thin glazing of yellow ochre, the color of light. And we'll just smooth it out here. And then we have enough on there for now. And we'll take our rag here and just smooth it around. And again, we want it just a light glazing. And again, it doesn't have to be perfectly even. Some areas are dark, some are lighter. You can pick up a little more with the rag even and just do that for a few spots if you need to. But that should be fine. So it's almost like right now it's, you know, just a touch of that under glazing, and that's it. And it's super thin, barely. It won't affect your painting over top when you're coming onto the top of this glazing, this golden color, this primer. Once you go on top of this, you're not even gonna, it won't affect your next wash. So it's just like you're painting on dry canvas pretty much. Okay, so I did rinse off my brush. I'll rinse it off one more time. And then we said we're going to create a grayish sky, like a stormy kind of sky. So I think I will go with some red and blue and a little bit of our darker mixtures. We'll try to get ourselves a little bit of a grayish color. So we'll add some burnt umber to our blues and our whites, a little bit of white. I'll add a little bit of water to that. Let's see what happens. Not bad. It could be a little thicker. So we'll go with more white. Some more of our green, brown, red, blue. We'll mix a grayish color like that. Yeah, much better. Okay. And we'll get it on there. We'll maybe do this. Well, this we'll do like almost like a overcast sky where maybe it's even raining or drizzling a little bit. So we'll do our paint strokes vertically now like this. We'll add a little more white here. So maybe this side over here on the right side's a little lighter. And maybe it's a little darker over here. Again, we're using a little bit of mixtures of everything. But I think if you just get that feeling of the gray color like that, you're fine, like that. And then the white, a little bit lighter here. Okay, we're going to need some more white. No problem. We got a whole giant tube here. Let's squeeze some out extra here, white. If you had like a Payne's gray or like an ivory black, you could use that to mix your gray. I tend to mix my grays with like burnt umber and French ultramarine blue and a little bit of red. Okay, and a little more lighter. All right. So I'm hoping you are having fun with this. These compositions are so much fun. And what we'll do is we'll take the remaining bottom portion of the painting and make it lighter. So we're just adding more of the white to our gray color that we mixed. And that's it. And then we just keep going down here like so, mixing it in. Also a little bit of that yellow ochre color underneath, that color of light. And maybe we'll make a seaport. So we'll make just an indication of some boats maybe in the bottom of the painting. And maybe a dock and maybe a small fishing shack or something. We'll try that out. All right, perfect. So what I'll do is I'll take a quick break. We'll let this dry a little bit. And maybe I'll even just use a little bit of the rag again and just I'll dry off a little bit of the bottom. I'll take off a little bit of the paint on the bottom of the canvas here like this. And when we come back, we're going to do just a little bit of fun seaport kind of an idea across. We did the hills here. We'll do a little bit of a seaport across the bottom here just to kind of give ourselves a indication of kind of a stormy sky in the next to the ocean in a seaport type of setting. All right, so I'll just take a quick break and we'll come right back. All right, so we're back. We took a little bit of a break. I'm going to get a different brush right now. I'm going to use the number 4 square brush like this. And we'll do the little bit of a seaport along the bottom here. And I just squeezed out a little bit of burnt umber here. And some green, some French ultramarine blue, and some red. So I'm just going to mix those colors together. And maybe we will do those, maybe we'll do a small bit of land over here with that, maybe some buildings. So I'll just make a rectangular shape like this. And then once I make that rectangular shape, I'm thinking this is maybe a dock with some buildings along it. Then we can go in and a little more burnt umber, French ultramarine blue, some of the cad red, and then maybe we can do a little bit of some, maybe make a roof over here like this. Then maybe there's some other things over here. Okay, something like that. Some rectangular shapes basically with the square brush here. And then you can even, we'll go in and put a little more detail to that, but that's pretty good for there. And then maybe over here we'll do a very, very faint line. That'll be our dock going out here. And then maybe we have some pilings. And we'll just do those like so. Not taking too much care, to make it perfect or anything. Just get that brush nice and sharp with the paint. So you press like that and you press like this and you get that point, that nice chisel point on the brush. So it's nice and sharp and pointy. And then you can make these pilings on the dock with these pointy shapes like that. We can go in and get some more French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, phthalo green, a little bit of red. And then we could just maybe do a couple dots for windows. Doesn't have to be perfect. Like that. And then maybe we'll make a ship over here. Maybe a nice sailing ship here. Like that. Maybe we'll just take the brush, do the same thing. We'll make a nice sharp point on the brush. Burnt umber, French ultramarine blue, phthalo green, a little bit of yellow ochre. Maybe we'll just make a mast here. I'll just do it a little bit at a time. Like that. Couple of rigging lines. And that's it. Nothing too fancy. Nothing too fancy, just a little bit of a fun idea of a boat. Maybe a few more over here too. Maybe we'll put another couple boat shapes here. And that's it. I think that's good. A little more burnt umber, French ultramarine blue. Just to sharpen up some of the roofs up here. And that is it. We've had really two nice compositions here. We were kind of focused in on making some really nice skies here. That was our main focus. And then you can even go in and add in a little bit of white if you want to add a little bit of extra dynamics to it. Maybe you could take a few little bits of the white, the titanium white, and just makes it a little more interesting here. Like that. Okay, thanks for joining along. We're doing wonderful oil painting work. Every couple of weeks we make a video here on my channel, and I hope you're enjoying it. We'll continue to do a lot of fun things with oil painting, the water mixable oil painting, and hope everyone's doing well out there and having fun with it. Happy painting, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.